Imagine being the son of people that are ghost hunters. It was a portal to go to another dimension, but it didn't work. But Danny tried it for himself. Of course, things got to go wrong and ended up turning him into an actual phantom. Danny Phantom, aka his molecules were fused with ghost DNA, giving him powers and abilities of a ghost. Danny Phantom got his human mode, his ghost mode, and a literal battlesuit exoskeleton. This battlesuit is so awesome that if he goes ghost form while in it, it will go ghost form too and transform with it. Like, yeah, battlesuit. It can do pretty much anything Danny can do when in suit, but better. Yeah, Danny can use gear like this, can suck the ghost out of a battle suit. This thing can contain a lot of ghosts. And if you mess up and have it release, all these ghosts can just come out and be free. Spectre gauntlets he can use to help get the advantage. One of my favorite powers, super strength, like carrying a dozen people at once. He even strong enough to throw this giant mosquito in his ghost mode to carry a bus full of children. Ghost he can fly. What ghost can't fly, right? In this occasion, fought a dragon, lift it and throw it out of sight. That's how far. Being able to lift this large dragon and throw it a long distance pretty much proves that Danny can at least lift over 200 tons pretty effortlessly, might I add. This is not counting his striking power, not counting using his flight speed to increase his punching power on top of his strength. This is just raw lifting by itself. He can already lift hundreds or 200s of tons like this, but this
Skeleton can enhance your natural abilities 100-fold. Skeleton can enhance your natural abilities 100-fold.
This already by itself is already strong, but this little battlesuit exoskeleton suit is whatever this can do, literally times 100. If base Danny Phantom can lift 200 tons without this suit, with this suit, 200 tons times 100 would be the multiplier for him in this suit. That means in this state, he can lift 200 tons, and in this state, he'll be able to lift 20,000 tons. Slung some giant scissors out of sight because of his throwing power. During a test when it comes to his raw speed, we know he can fly in the narrative, but there's implications that he's even faster than this, like how he's able to move like a blur. Like, you see that? Our human eyes can perceive 100 miles per hour, but in this occasion, too fast to register. Fast enough to catch up to a train. In speed, he can catch up to a train, comparing his speed to other ghosts in the series to really get a better understanding of his raw speed. He's fast enough to dodge rays from Danny. For one, Danny can actually produce light with his energy projection abilities, which I haven't got to yet.
So bright light weakens it.
That Danny can produce light as well. When real light hit this ghost, for example, it was getting hurt by it, proving yet again that Danny hit him with literal light. To prove his light even more, it reflects off a mirror. Butch Hartman, creator of Danny Phantom, actually was watching a death battle and he agreed with the analysis.
Ectoplasmic beams tend to be considered actual lasers. Reflective
Yes, they do.
Reflective
Yes, they do.
Reflective
Yes, they do. I love this
So they are
analysis.
like-
I think it's safe to say that he's way faster than speed of light when it comes to reaction and just raw speed in general. The creator even says it again about his light speed attacks, Danny's blast.
Creating light.
Clear evidence that he's shown to be faster than that based on his attack speed along with his flight speed. Other beings might do the ghost ray of light too against Danny. In case you can see the beam of light coming out and you can see him literally avoiding it mid-flight, showing his fighting speed or reaction speed. It's pretty clear of his speed right now, considering that his lasers or ghost rays in general are 670 million miles per hour. He can pretty much avoid things or react to things that's coming at him at 670 million miles per hour. And guess what? He has a battle suit that whatever this can do 100 times better. This should include his speed. So if he's already able to react to things at the speed of light or maneuver at those levels of speed in this state, he can react to something hundreds of times the speed of light. He's one of the hardest people to hurt because he can go into intangible mode. So one could say his durability is irrelevant because he can just go Martian Manhunter mode if he consciously turns it on or off. But he can't be hit physically. When his principal is possessed, he threw it through a water tower. That hard. Physically strong enough, all these people and a big cat. Strong enough to push giant tank-like stuff like that, to do this, like that. Danny is strong enough to do that to your arms. So we know he has super strength. Even giant battle suits that look like they're multiple stories tall, he could punch. It'll push a giant mech over like that, using flight speed and just raw super strength in general to kick this giant meat monster that looks the size of a building. He can strike so hard to make a big crater like that. Yeah, building-sized crater, or 1 floor deep, one could say. You know the little ones don't stand a chance. That cat power. He's consistently fighting giant-type creatures, like the giant snake he tackles. This giant slime monster, he can splatter it. Cuts through this stone with an axe. One punch and you ghost. Y'all ain't nothing. He's overpowered beings that have battle suits. This giant mechanical clown head he takes out off screen. You see the clown, and then you see the head. Do that. So they didn't show it, but yeah, he took it out. Getting a sword fight. So yeah, he can't use a sword, by the way. Epic. Shown skill enough to beat down a squad of guards. Epic to see. for the most part. He even flipped this big thing like that, like on some wrestling type stuff. He's skilled enough to slice off your blindfold without hurting you. So far, it's pretty obvious he can go intangible, fly. Well, he does have blast power, energy projection type stuff too. I'm a big fan of energy blast though. He kind of uses his powers without fully transforming. Like, yeah, to go intangible through the ground like that. He can even use telekinesis. Even if you remove his ghost half, it can just come back to him. Because it's still just him. He just jump back to him. Ghost, he can breathe and talk underwater. Ghost don't need to eat, sleep, or breathe. On his Spider-Man status, like standing on the side of a building, because you cannot see his reflection in a mirror. The attention to detail the writers did. He can use his ghost power to enter a video game. Like, make that make sense. Bruh, what? One can call these ghost rays the blast power he can produce. Big things. He be fighting with his blast power, breaking apart bunches of toys, things that's multiple stories tall, and charge it up like that. He's able to produce like that a monster clone of himself. You see that big explosion right there? It's proven that he can make explosions with his blast power bigger than literal buildings. It's implied he can blast harder than missiles. This can withstand missiles, and it just pushed him back a bit. But Danny's blast power to the same guy is able to do that or damage him with one blast. As you know, a lot of missiles can level buildings and stuff. Danny definitely has enough blast power to blast apart buildings, I would say. It's proven even further because he has enough blast power to do this to a clock tower. Like, yeah. And incinerate the person he's fighting. Yeah, a big crater like that. It about him being able to blast buildings apart adds up. It's literally proven that he can blast a building apart like blasting his dark self. Doing that. In this state, he can already level buildings with his blast power, but this battle suit, stated in the show, gives him a power increase. I let them say it themselves and let you listen.
While the ectoskeleton can enhance your natural abilities 100-fold.
So in this state, he already can blast apart buildings. In this state, he should be able to blast apart hundreds of buildings, but that's none of my business. One can even make an argument, this state, he could blast apart a town-sized structure or hundreds of buildings at least. According to Death Battle's calculations, they said this would take at least 500 plus tons of TNT, showing his blast power. He can affect things on a crazy large radius. He helped turn the entire planet Earth, help with others, intangible. There's also another way you can look at Danny's blast power. One could argue that whatever he can use his energy projection for, one can even say however hard his durability of his shields are, should be how hard he can blast or produce. Danny has fought ghostly beings like this before that can disperse clouds like that. I know clouds don't seem that heavy. When you get like a whole bunch of them, they can get pretty heavy. Death Battle even did a calculation on how much power this would take. They estimated that this blast, that this being that Danny consistently fights or blocks these fire blast attacks from, can produce 7.5 kilotons of TNT, and Danny can create shields to withstand these type of blasts. One could say that's giving an idea of Danny's blast power as well on top of it. Keep in mind that 7 kilotons is the power needed to blast away a town, and this is his base state. Meaning, with his special battle suit, it will be 100 times this amount. There's even some calculations that some people think that cloud splitting fleet is like in the mountain range. It just depends on how you look at it. If we take that seriously, that would mean Danny in his battle suit will be 100 times mountain level. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of different ways you can take it. Another reason why I think whatever his shields can withstand, how he can blast with that same amount of force, because he seems to use the same energy that he uses to like blast energy blast, he uses to make shields. And the beings that he fights can split clouds of that magnitude, and he can shield from these beings consistently fighting these beings, not counting his ectoplasm suit. So if somebody came up to you and said Danny could blast apart a mountain in base form, I couldn't really argue against you. You know what I'm saying? There's implication that his blast power is above his physical punching power. Like this particular powerful knight got charged by Danny and he just got bounced back. But when Danny unleashed a blast power attack on him, it was able to push him back like that. Same with blasting him off his horse. He blasts him like that. Giant creature, your arm and head gets blown off. Regeneration though, giant stone hammers, blast him like that. Blast power can do that. Like how he was able to blast that dragon that hard to crack the wall right next to it. Carves a trench in a rock formation, blasts himself out of ice he's encased in. I like how he can get creative with his energy projection too. How he cleans and organizes the place. Organization skills. His energy raised into like little discs. Like, yeah, slides along the ground by emitting energy from his feet. He can blast apart this giant scorpion you see. Blast power. Notice how he can use his energy projection in like omnidirectional type of attacks, like in all directions at once if he feels like it. There's implications he can use it like heat, how on some occasions he vaporizes certain things, or after he's done blasting, you see like smoky, implying heat, one could say. Like on this occasion, how he incinerated phones, like to nothing and it's smoky. Even melts shoes to the floor, light that can just blind you with his blast. He has the ability to produce light to weaken beings that are made of shadows, because light and shadows can't coexist, Or he can just simply brighten up a lab with light. He can even produce shielding, implied to be able to react to lightning, and he blocked the flamethrower with his shielding. Like, even when he's not near you, technically. Like, just like that. Whatever his blast power can do, I would say his shield can do too, like blocking this giant hornet or blocking this giant sarcophagus. Protective barrier, baby. Fighting a dark version of himself, he can use blast power attacks like yelling screams to do all of that to a forest full of trees with blast power. Blast a whole bunch of ghosts out of sight with his blast power. Something you gotta respect. Beings he normally fight with his crazy yelling. Blast power. Can make literal snowballs, or one could say cryokinesis. Heck, he even freezes a sewer like that. Like, how the heck do you freeze a ray? He seems to be able to project his energy in any part of his body, like his eyes, like here in this example, or even freeze someone with a punch, like an ice punch. Respect it. He can create shields of ice to counter flame attacks, himself in an ice aura, omnidirectional ice attack, can turn walls invisible, also turn himself invisible, turns an aircraft invisible, like such. Even they can't be hit. He can share his intangibility. Once you go intangible, you're not hittable. If he swallows something, he can go intangible, reach something out that he swallowed, misty-like form, or just simply open a hole in his body to avoid this gun, for example. Like, what? Or he can simply separate his upper body and lower body to avoid all of this mess. Possess things, even inanimate object things he can possess. The ultimate way to haunt, right? Get into the dreams of a person. Hey, I'm in your dreams. Possessing him and just literally control him. It's that easy. He can even make you unpossessed by tackling the ghost out of you. Being able to split into duplicates, creating multiple duplicates of himself. But that could be just me. Did you know Danny Phantom was this strong? Did you know he could help turn the entire world intangible? Did you know he could produce ice? He could do all the ghostly things, but better. Create clones, can affect physical stuff. But I'm interested to hear you guys' thought. But I also want to give a quick shout out to everybody that has taken the time to donate to the channel. Helps out a lot.